It's 7:41. The voice of the creative economy now with Vincent Heeringa joining us this morning from very wet Auckland. Very wet most of the country, I suppose, at the moment. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Wammo.
Bit too damp.
Wet.
Bit too damp to be digging in the backyard, digging up minerals.
There's lots of them.
We are talking
Put
mining.
your raincoat on and get your spade out. You'll discover some gold in your backyard.
Maybe so. Or probably, and where you are, just some deep, rich soil for growing stuff in.
There's lovely soil in Mount Albert, absolutely. It's like chocolate.
That's right.
But the Institute of Professional Engineers, so this is the body that when you are a professional engineer, you are obliged to join. It's a professional body for registering engineers, but they also produce reports and make policy recommendations for the government, and have produced yesterday a report that is quite, well, it's kind of interesting and surprising and controversial.
Surprising, or is it to be expected that engineers would probably be quite keen on mining?
Some engineers are keen on mining, and it was interesting in the story that we've run on Ideologue already. An engineer, Stuart Forsyth, has registered his objections to the report.
Okay.
To say, hey, not everyone agrees with this stance.
So what do they say?
Well, the report is quite short, it's quite readable, and the recommendation is that New Zealand is dripping in minerals, gold, oil, phosphates, and that we only extract a tiny amount of them. And within the next 10 years, we can and should triple the amount of extraction of minerals from New Zealand, and which will in turn triple the amount of revenue that's generated, particularly export revenue that's generated. And the report is actually quite staunch. It castigates New Zealand for ignoring this wealth of resources that sits in our soil and in our oceans. And it's kind of surprising in some ways because, in many ways, engineers have been at the forefront of challenging New Zealand to adopt a kind of a knowledge economy, and they have been very vocal in their criticism of government for not investing in knowledge industries and technological or technology education programs. So I'm kind of surprised, but very interested, Wammo.
But isn't it, it's an opportunity right now, though, isn't it? I mean, they've been banging on about the knowledge economy and being high-tech for a wee while now. They've gotten nowhere. Now we've got a mine-friendly government in, so why not release a report like this to speed things up?
Sure, that may be some of the politics of it, but let's look at some of the facts about mining and about mineral extraction, Wammo, because that may influence people's opinion. And the report, by the way, is freely available. You can download it from the Ideologue website or from the IPEN's website. But here's some interesting facts, Wammo, that we have the fourth lowest mineral taxation regime and royalty regime in the world. And they say that simply increasing the amount of tax that we require and royalties that we require of the mineral extraction companies will significantly lift the amount of revenue that the government generates. I didn't know that. I didn't know that we were such a tax-friendly regime for mineral companies.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Another thing, compared to dairy farming, which is kind of interesting and surprising, that the amount of money you produce per hectare from dairying is something like 3,400. The amount of money you produce per hectare from mining is 537,000. So it's more than 100 times efficient in terms of land use for generating money out of land. That's quite sobering, Wammo. You think about, we're used to seeing rolling countryside of farming, and we think it's kind of rural and picturesque. Only 200 years ago, that was pristine primeval forest.
Yeah.
We are foolish to think that dairying and intensive industrial agriculture is not damaging to the environment. maybe
indeed.
just for a moment we should consider the efficiency of mining versus dairying in terms of impacts on the environment.
But don't you think most New Zealanders regret the clearing of the bulk of these, these pristine forests back in the day for farming?
Yeah, possibly, but regret's not going to fix anything, is it? We're living with this kind of denuded countryside, which we rely on for our health and well-being and our prosperous economy. Maybe just for a moment we should think about the efficiency of mining to generate wealth out of such concentrated bits of land.
But just concentrating on efficiency, mining though is a one-off use of that land though, isn't it? So,
It is.
You say that you get more out of mining per hectare, but it's a one-off, whereas farming is long-term.
Yes, I suppose that's true, although, as this report says, the amount of minerals in the land is quite significant and our extraction is quite small, and they have a graph in the report which shows just how long it would take at current levels to extract minerals from the land. And in the case of, say, lignite, if you continue to extract lignite at this current rate, it would take 300 years before you would exhaust the available supply. And gold is 90 years. So there's 90 years worth of gold available in easy-to-access places.
Okay. Lignite, scraping the bottom of the barrel, one of the worst possible things we could be mining in New Zealand, but do go on, Vincent.
I knew this would get you worked up, Wammo.
Well, and also as a global citizen, just really inappropriate as well.
Yeah, that's true. So do you use a cell phone, Wammo?
Unfortunately, I do, yes.
Yeah. So inside cell phones, inside most modern appliances, the technology we use relies a great deal on precious minerals, on golds and on nickels and on stuff that we extract out of the ground. And
we're fast running out of that, aren't we?
I'm sorry?
We're fast running out of some of these things inside gadgets.
Exactly. And but we do run this kind of hypocritical existence where we are so clever and sophisticated as to use modern technology, and yet we don't want to, in our own country, in an environmentally friendly way, extract those minerals that are required. And we would rather push that to countries where there is minimum regimes and nobody cares because nobody can see.
But isn't it
too poor to complain?
But isn't it because there is an alternative vision out there for how New Zealand could be an exporter, and that is in clean green technology, and also be seen as an oasis down here in the Pacific that people can come and visit, tourism, all that kind of stuff. That there is an alternative rather than the traditional way of earning money that is extracting resources and farming and whatnot. We can try and be something different into the future.
Are we not able to have our cake and eat it too?
And do everything?
Why not?
Well, you can't really, you can't project an image of clean green and meanwhile, behind the screen over here, be digging up the Denniston Plateau.
Well, let's just imagine that we could. Let's imagine that we could offer mining or do mining in a sustainable way, in at least world's best practice way. And every country that someone comes from will have a mineral industry at some point. And the clever, sophisticated Scandinavians that come down here and look all sort of clean and green and and the Germans as well, who love our environment, those countries have their economies based on heavy manufacturing and oil extraction. And so there's no part of the world, Wammo, that's really untouched by the extraction industry.
But can't we say that was part of the Industrial Revolution? Let's put a line in the sand. Maybe there'll be a grey area for a wee while, but let's put a line on the sand and move into the next era of whatever it is. Well,
that would be awesome. Now, one of the things that the Norwegians do so well is they take the royalties that are made from the oil industry and are rapidly investing it into clean tech, both in terms of kind of improving the existing technology, but also investing in in renewables and in the research around clean tech. Something like, sorry, I just can't remember the number, but it's a huge number. It's in the billions that is going to be invested every year in Norway. Anyway, it's not me that's saying this, Wammo, but
no, it's a good conversation.
Putting this out there to say there's all this wealth sitting in the ground. We could extract it. We already do extract some of it. We could triple our production with minimal environmental impact. And
whatever that is, I'm not sure what minimal environmental impact means. I mean, the deep sea drill out there in the Mexico, they were off for minimal impact until their world's best practices went wrong.
Yeah. Well, deep sea mining is part of those figures that they talk about. Accessing the southern basin, extracting more gas out of Taranaki.
And it's like the whole idea with fracking as well. World's best practices of fracking. Well, what's going on over in the States? You've got water supplies being polluted. There's potential links to earthquakes, gas coming out of taps. It's just bizarre. But they're all world's best practices, and they want to do that stuff here as well. Yes,
I'm with you on the fracking. It's absolutely amazing that fracking is allowed when it is so obviously, ridiculously damaging. Anyway,
good conversation, though. And where can
something to think about.
Where can people find the report?
Well, if you go to Ideologue, you just look in the leadership section, or type in professional engineers or mining or something. The story will come up.
Yeah.
And there's an embedded file there, or a link, so you can just click on the link and it'll open the document. It's very brief. Even I could read it.
Cool. Thanks very much, Vincent.
Thanks, Wammo.
Vincent Heeringa over at ideologue.co.nz, also twitter.com/V